and welcome back to my channel for the player ratings live stream of Chelsea Gargantuan Football Club. It's ridiculous what we're doing at the moment. We're getting dubs after dubs after dubs after dubs. It doesn't matter where we play. It doesn't matter who we play. It doesn't matter what team we turn up with. We're going to get the dub. That's just what we're going to do at the moment. And it's absolutely bloody brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Doesn't matter what Pep does. You know, Tuchel is becoming, you know, the lifelong nemesis for Pep, like Pep is for Jose Mourinho. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. I'm all over the shop. Pep turns up with this fancy formation, like a 3-3-1 or whatever it is. Like, you know, turns up with things that, you know, we haven't seen really before. Takes us a while to get used to. By halftime, it was the better team. I don't even understand. Alonso, your hair is so beautiful. You must use conditioner every half hour. It's ridiculous. Honestly, I'm so happy. Like, honestly, I won't lie to you guys. I was kind of struggling a tiny bit to kind of get myself hyped for this game again after a little bit of a come down after getting to the Champions League final against Real Madrid. It was kind of like this came too quick almost. But bloody oh, you know, that second half helped. Bloody oh, that second half helped. And to discuss all of it and give all those player ratings, we are joined by Mr. CFCPys, of course, our partner in crime for these player rating live streams. First of all, Pys, how you doing? And secondly, how bloody good was that?
Bro, like, I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, I literally don't know what to say anymore. Like, we can turn up to games and we can, you know, outplay teams, or we can turn up to games, you know, like the first half where City had pretty much all of the ball, they had all the possession, and then by the end of the game, we still smash and grab a win. Like, it's just, and I've been talking about this, about Tuchel as well. He's got two sides to him. It's a perfect balance of, you know, he's like pragmatic and we can do that sort of thing, like smash and grab and just sit back and counter. Or we can have all the ball and actually outplay teams and create, you know, 10, 12 chances or whatever. And then, you know, somehow still win like 1 or 2-0. Like, it's just crazy, man. I'm over the moon. Like, I went mental when that goal got in. I was like, yeah, I was a bit like you as well. Like, I didn't really know what to think of this game because, like, a lot of Chelsea fans were saying the same thing. You know, if we, you know, if we won this game, would we really win 3 in a row? Or, you know, some fans were saying, oh, to be honest, I'll just, you know, accept the draw. You know, I was kind of in that boat. Like, I would have accepted a draw. I thought that draw would be good because obviously of yesterday's results and the fact that, you know, Arsenal and Leicester, we've got to play them, and Villa, I think they're winnable games. So the fact that they've won this now is pretty much confirmed top 4 for me, yeah, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I mean, we've put ourselves in a really good position. Obviously, we're not third. We're not even fighting for top 4 anymore. We're fighting for top 3. It's absolutely brilliant. Who knows what Man United do, obviously, with their 3 games in the space of 5 days or whatever it is. So you never know. You know, crazy things can happen. We're only 3 points off them right now, I think. Obviously, they will take some of these points, right? And they have 2 in hand right now. But still, I bloody take it. Honestly, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I think people are slightly underestimating, because I just slightly disagree with you there that it's smash and grab, because I think second half, especially after the 50th, 50th minute onwards, we was by far the better team, I thought, in the second half. Man City was just trying to defend their lead, I thought. I mean, other than after our 2 offside goals, they had like a 5-minute spell where they kind of went for it again, with obviously that Foden chance and the possible penalty with the Zuma and Sterling situation. But aside from that, City did absolutely nothing all of the second half, and we scored 2 offside goals and, you know, had, you know, scored 2 actual goals, and I had a fair few decent other moments as well. I think second half we was fantastic, honestly.
Yeah, no, what I meant by that was, like, yeah, we did dominate.
Just late winner.
Half, like, yeah, it's just like a late winner, like smash, you know, we grab it. They can't, you know, they can't physically come back from that. That's kind of what I meant. But no, I do agree with you. In that second half, man, like, oh, just please stay on side, guys. Like, the Hudson-Odoi one was tight, and Werner I knew was offside, and I was just like, this Werner guy, he would win the golden boot if there was no offside rule. Like, seriously, please. Like, I just beg that don't happen in the final, though, because that would just, nah. But yeah, anyway, that was a brilliant result, and it's just like Alonso, man. Like, who else could it actually be? You know, physically, like, he's done it time and time again.
It's just what he does.
Like, it was actually annoying me as well because he was putting some really high crosses in, and I was just like, oh, you know, a typical Alonso game, not really that special. Bang, he scores the winner. I'm just like, oh, that's typical. It's just, it's crazy.
Although it'll be interesting when we talk about it, because I actually think I agree the crosses weren't great, but in terms of Alonso standards, I thought he had a very good game. Like, not incredible. But, in terms of Alonso standards, I thought he had a good day. But we'll discuss that later on. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, as you might have been able to tell from the tweet or whatever you're joining us from, Miz, the other side of the coin, will join us later on once his stream is done. So we're going to have his player ratings as well. So definitely tune in for that. And of course, as I always say at the beginning of the streams, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. We're less than 250 subscribers away from the big 10,000. So if you're new here, whether you're watching this right now as we're live, or whether you're watching this later on when this stream has turned into a video, please be sure to subscribe. I'd be honestly massively appreciated. I really can't wait to hit that 10K, but got to be absolutely massive for me, honestly. Smash the like button as well. Honestly, the more the better. Because, YouTube loves likes. If this has a lot of likes, YouTube will think, oh, this is brilliant. So let's show it to more strangers who don't know who I am, don't know who we are. So, get them involved, get them subscribed as well. So, why not do that? And of course, if you fancy using the super chat function, so, support the channel and also make sure we discuss whatever you have to say or whatever, do that. And, if you want to become a member, there's obviously that option as well. I suppose, Pys, we just move on. Actually, no. Before we get to the actual player ratings, what did you make of the lineup when it came out? Let me see if it's here somewhere, but just talk about it. There it is. I'll bring it up.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I mean, I'm pretty sure we got the lineup spot on in terms of front three. I'm pretty sure we all said Ziyech, Werner, and Pulisic. So that wasn't really a surprise. The one that stood out to me was Gilmore. I really didn't think he'd trust Gilmore, but fair play. I thought almost certainly Mount would play in the pivot, but I mean, how good does this look now, Laurenz? Mount has got a full game of rest, and we're playing Arsenal on Wednesday. Please, let's just batter them.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
It can't work out better. Literally, it can't work out better in terms of rest. Havertz as well, on the bench, but didn't come on, so that's brilliant. Jorginho had to come on, but I thought that was a good sub, to be fair. Almost like pre-planned, maybe. Kante, I didn't really expect him to come off, so I guess that maybe had been pre-planned or something. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really have too many qualms with the lineup. I just think it was Gilmore that sort of, I was like, whoa, that's interesting that he's actually trusted him here. But I thought in the first half, he gave the penalty away. I thought he was struggling a bit in terms of ball progression and trying to escape the press, because they high pressed us like mad and we was really struggling. Reminded me of the Porto game. Was it the away game? The high press was crazy, and all he was doing was pumping it up long, and we was really struggling, to be fair. But in the second half, we popped it about more, and we kind of dominated them. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, we did. I mean, like I said, Pep turned up with something that Tuchel clearly didn't expect, because it's back three, back five, whatever you want to call it, and obviously two strikers all of a sudden when usually he plays with none at all. Obviously, Jesus didn't play as a proper striker, but still, like I said, almost playing a 3-3-1 formation, which is Louis van Gaal did this back in the day for Bayern Munich for a little while. Didn't really click for them so well, but that's the last time I've seen that formation used, and it clearly took us 10, 15, if not 20 minutes to kind of deal with it. Then it became an even game, and it became end-to-end a little bit until obviously the last 2 minutes of the first half, which we're gonna discuss in later on. But that was kind of what I thought. The big surprise for me in the lineup, well, yeah, Gilmore starting, sure, but kind of like that. I was very surprised that it was Kante that stayed and Jorginho that got rested, just because obviously the way we know Kante is he needs more rest. So that was surprising to me. Not that I had a problem with it at all. I just didn't expect it, if that makes sense. And aside from that, well, yeah, Gilmore. But aside from that, it was kind of expected. I'm also very happy for Tino Livramento, obviously, to, even if he didn't come on, to get the experience with the first team, travel for a Premier League game, a big Premier League game as well, be part of the squad now as we're celebrating this win in the dressing room on the way home and stuff. So I think that's very good for him too. So at the end of the day, absolutely brilliant. Before we get into the actual player ratings now, as you guys might know, over the last few days, if you've watched any of my streams, I am sponsored by OneFootball this month. So let me just quickly play a little clip. Check out the link in the description, and I'll see you after that. I want to say a massive thank you to OneFootball for partnering up with me and sponsoring my channel. Like the name suggests, it's a football app, and trust me, it's one of the best ones out there. You get all the latest football news from pretty much every single team and league all around the world. Team news, live score updates, league tables, fixture lists, everything you could possibly want to know in the world of football, you find it right there. Never want to miss out on any news surrounding Chelsea again? OneFootball has got you covered. As you can see on screen now, all the news is all there in one place. Whether it's the latest injury news, articles before and after games, or of course, transfer rumors. And with the transfer window actually opening and coming up soon, as well, you'll definitely want to make use of that transfer indicator, which not only tells you about all the rumors out there, it also tells you how likely a certain transfer actually is to happen, which is definitely quite handy during a very busy transfer window, which could be on the horizon for Chelsea. And like I said, it's honestly a brilliant app that I can only recommend downloading with the link down in the description below. And downloading the app with my link also really helps out my channel. And I want to say it again, I really appreciate them sponsoring me. And like I just said, it's a brilliant app that everyone should have on their phone. And all it takes is literally a few seconds to click that link down in the description below. Doesn't matter whether you're an iPhone or Android. I download the app right there with that link. So again, go down below into the description and download the OneFootball app with my link right now. There we are, guys. And also big shout out to everybody in the chat. James, obviously, Clutch as always. Appreciate all of you guys. Zalams as well. Sorry if I butchered your name, bro. Harry P. Moore. Sorry again if I butchered your name. Abdu, obviously, Euphoria. Appreciate all of you guys that are tuning in, that are, active in the chat as well. If you're watching this right now, don't just watch, share your thoughts in the chat, makes everything a bit more interesting. So, Pys, with all of this said now, let's get into the player ratings. We can see the lineup at the bottom now. And let's start with Edouard Mendy. Can't really do nothing about the goal. Saves a penalty. We'll talk about the penalty situation in a second, but saves the penalty. And made one or two other good saves, caught a couple of crosses. Brilliant, really. Can't really complain, can you?
Yeah, no, I mean, another solid game, to be fair. I do agree. I don't think he could have done anything about the goal. So, yeah, maybe like 7.5, 8, something like that. Nothing outstanding like games that he's had, like where he's absolutely clutched us, but solid performance nevertheless, I think.
It's a weird one, really, because obviously the penalty was so bad. But if he really goes for the dive, there's even at this slow Panenka, he can't stop it. So I still think he deserves good props for that. That's why I would give him like an 8.5, because I know the penalty looked silly, but he still saved his first penalty for Chelsea, and I think we need to give him props for that.
Yeah, I mean, give him an 8.5 then we can always look back as we go on anyway, maybe, and see what the ratings are.
Exactly, and we'll see what Miz has to say anyways when he turns up. As we discussed Mendy, before we get into the other ratings, I actually want to quickly discuss Anthony Taylor with you, because... And I know from what I've seen on Twitter, you disagree with me here. I don't think the Sterling one is a set red. I think you can certainly give the red card, but for me, it's, and I said this on Blues Fans TV a minute ago already, for me, it's this standard, typical situation where if the ref gives the red, VAR won't overturn it to give a yellow. But if the ref gives the yellow, VAR won't overturn it to give a red, because it's kind of like one of those 50-50s, because it was malicious. I know his foot was a bit up and his studs were up, but it's like, it wasn't super malicious. Werner knew he was coming. So it was more, in my opinion, unfortunate than like bad, if that makes sense. So Anthony Taylor, of course, he's a prick. We all know that. But I think that one is like, I think it's okay if it's not a red card, but it also would have been equally as okay if it is, if that makes sense. What would you say about that?
My counter argument to that is mainly Anthony Taylor. Like, if, for example, Gilmore made that challenge, he's given a red card. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, he gave a stupid red card to Kovacic in the FA Cup final for like a little clip on the boot. Like, he still had his foot high. For me, it's a dangerous tackle and it's a red card. And because it's him, that's why I'm even more annoyed. Because if it's the other way round, he's given a red card and he's from Manchester. So it's nice that even Anthony Taylor can't beat us, to be honest. Yeah, I really, really dislike him. And let's just say that. He has a track record of just being an absolute melon against us. So, yeah, I don't know why he's still officiating our games. I mean, I saw a run that Alex Goldberg did. It's like completely spot on his Twitter video. Like, I don't know why, like with such a proven track record of going against us, why he still is allowed to officiate our games. And the funny thing is, he hasn't officiated one of our games for ages. And then he comes into Manchester City, where he's from Manchester, and they put him in charge of this game. It's like, it's not only that, it's not only where he's from, it's a big game. What has he done to deserve to be in charge of a big game in the first place compared to the other referees? Like, you know, like Michael Oliver referee today, I would have rather had him as our ref. I think he's a decent ref. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, this Anthony Taylor guy is just a fool. Like, yeah, he's an absolute fool.
No, I 100% agree with that. Like I said, for me, it's just still, I think the outrage by Chelsea fans was a little bit over the top with that red card. It's like, obviously we've seen them giving us reds, but I've also seen them not giving us reds. Literally, my local team's game yesterday, there was a much worse tackle than this. Obviously, there's no VAR in the second division of Austria, but much worse tackle than this. It literally broke the guy's leg. No red card. I said, are you taking a Michael? Didn't actually break his leg, but he has like a, when you have like a bit of a crack in your bone, what's that called? Do you know what I mean? A hairline crack?
Hairline crack,
Yeah, there you go. And a ligament damage from a tackle, and he didn't even give a red card, much worse. So I'm like, I've seen it both ways, and I'm not going to be too upset about it. But we picked up Mendy for saving a penalty. Did you think it was a penalty by Gilmore on Gabriel Jesus?
I mean, to be honest, I thought it was a bit harsh, but he did stick his arm out, so I'm going to say yes, because I try and always, with penalty incidents, I always try and look at it from my perspective. Like, if that was my team, would I want a penalty there? I'm not going to lie, I probably would have wanted a penalty there. So, I'm going to say it was a penalty.
Yeah, I personally agree. For me, it's one of those fouls that I never think should be fouls, but always are fouls. So it's like I just have accepted that those are always given. It's like when the attacker and the defender run, and the attacker crosses the defender, and then he clips his heels. I'm like, the defender can't really do anything about this because the attacker crosses him. What's he going to do? Stop still in a split second? He can't stop clipping his heels there, but he's still always giving us fouls, and that's almost what this was. Billy was kind of jogging or running along the box, and Gabriel Jesus kind of just moved in front of him, and then they collided, and they're always given, even though I personally don't think they should be, but they kind of always are. So it's one of those. And obviously, Aguero, clearly is a big Chelsea fan. Can't wait to join us this summer. So, gave us a little help. Big fan. Don't want to be him in the dressing room of Man City today, but, it's what it is. There's a reason maybe why he doesn't play much, because he wasn't great today at all. I mean, if Sterling didn't save him, he would have missed a sit-down penalty today. He had a bit of a howl. And then the last dodgy decision, I suppose. Do you think the Zuma on Sterling one was a penalty or not?
See, I'm more undecided on this one, because when I saw it in live time, I was like 100% that's a penalty for me. Like, I thought he took him down. But when I watched it back on Sky Sports and I watched Micah Richards explaining where he touched him, like, they were showing it in slow-mo, and then Micah Richards was like, he touches him there, a bit there, and a bit there. I was like, I don't see much touch here. I think you're being a bit biased. That's what I was thinking. So I'm quite undecided, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. When I first saw it, yes. When I watched the replay, nah, not really. So I don't know, man.
It's a tough one, really, because for me, it's one of those where I'm happy it's not given a pen, because I never think these types of situations should be pens. But usually when you see this type of situation, they're always given as pens. So because of that, knowledge that usually they're given, I would say, yeah, maybe it is a pen. But if you ask me, outside of having seen all these situations previously, I would always say that's not a pen. Football is a contact sport. It's not NBA, it's not basketball, where you're basically not allowed to touch each other. I remember back in school, there was this kid who was like, he doesn't like touching other people, hence why he stopped playing football and went to basketball, because then you're not allowed to touch each other. I always remember this in my head, this kid saying this. I was like, fair dude. So then I'm like, if there is minimal contact 2 or 3 times, that doesn't mean it's a foul. It's football. You're allowed to touch each other. It's just one of those where Zuma is obviously massive. Sterling's obviously tiny, so it always makes it look a bit dodgy. So I think both penalties have a slight question mark on them, but because it gave the first one, it didn't give the second one, I think that's what was going on, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough to say either way. And I mean, Sterling was crying about it after the game in the interview, and I was just thinking, glad he didn't get that one, because obviously I think he should have been sent off. So maybe it was a bit of justice, and maybe Anthony Taylor didn't give that one because it was Sterling, and obviously he maybe could have got red carded. I don't know. You never know what refs think. So hopefully it was just trying to balance it out a little bit. But I don't think it was clear and an obvious penalty, to be honest.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. And as we actually talk about Sterling, what a prick he is. Obviously, Aspie hits him in the face a little bit, clearly accidental, goes over to apologize after. And Sterling's behaving like the worst brat I've ever seen. Is like, oh, sod off. Like, you just touched me in the face. I'm like, all right, it's football. Again, you're allowed to touch each other. It happens. You're not a bloody ballerina. You're playing football here. Stop crying about everything, you little prick. Pissed me right off, honestly. Pissed me right off. Anyways, let's move on with the ratings. Let's get to Azpilicueta, who I thought was brilliant today. provided an assist for Hakim Ziyech as well, kind of showing, because Reece James was fantastic second half, or especially the longer the second half went on. But first half, he struggled a bit. And once Aspie turned up that high up that pitch, he was like, see, Reece, that's what you need to do. You need to pass forwards, run, give some energy. And he was like, do that. And Reece James was like, if only you told me before. And then he did it perfectly after that. It's quite funny. But I think Aspie did a really good job today. I think he did. Would you?
Yeah, I thought he looked much better, more solid performance, sliding back into the back three, which is something I said as well. I thought he would go back into that back three. I just had a feeling, which he did. So that was nice to see, because obviously I just completely rate him way more there anyway. So, yeah, I mean, tough to give him a rating, maybe 8/8.5, something like that. Yeah, I think that would be quite a fair rating. I thought he was good on the ball and defended really well. And obviously the Sterling one, like you said, like, how do you not pay respect to Aspie? Like, it's like a Kante moment. Like, Aspie's not a wind-up merchant. He's not a Rudiger. He doesn't annoy you. So, like, why do you have to be so salty? Like, it's ridiculous.
Honestly, before actually to finalize the Aspie rating, maybe we skip Christensen for a second and go to Rudiger, because maybe that's kind of like kind of helps us decide almost for Aspie. What would you give Rudiger? I would personally put Rudiger a tad, even though the assist, I think Rudiger was amazing. I would put him a tad maybe above Aspie.
Yeah, I thought they were pretty similar, to be fair.
Or even, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think even.
Shall we give them both an 8.5?
Yeah, I think that'll be pretty good.
And then we get to Mr. Christensen, who, as brilliant as he's been, as much of a fan of him as I am, as much as the AC Penitentiary has been solid, there was a big breakout today. There was a whole prison break and a whole series was filmed there, because he had an absolute howler. Like, that was shocking. Like, someone quoted my tweet saying that was a special kind of series where I talk about mental health. I'm like, I just called him a bit stupid for a mistake. There's not talking about mental health. Don't be snowflakes, right? Anyway, that was a howler. And not only that, he also had he did the same thing twice before. I'm like, sort yourself out. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, just to explain it to people that maybe, I don't know, didn't see or whatever, just give it my viewpoint of it, is like, because of the way we played a little bit today, maybe you disagree here, but we almost did a little bit like what we did against Fulham, where we left the DM a little bit alone because the other central midfielder pushed quite high. But what we did different to the Fulham game is that Rudiger, as the left centre back, pushed up to almost be a second DM, and quite a few times the ball over the top was then played, and Christensen had to cover out wide. And this one was the situation where he had the most covered. Like, he should have been so comfortable. He was ahead of Jesus, and he, instead of just heading it either for a throw-in or for a corner, because the ball was literally like just beneath his head. He could have just gone a little header, would have been so comfortable. Instead, he tries to do a drop kick and clear it for a throw-in or punt it forward, misses the ball completely, gets his hamstring injured in the process, and we concede a goal. I'm like, it takes a special kind of mistake to not only cost your team a goal, but also get injured in the same moment. Like, Christensen needs to get a very, very low rating today. Doesn't mean I hate him now, but that was an absolute shocker.
Yeah, it's just one of those ones where obviously he's stretching, he's trying to clear it, and obviously he's done his hamstring while he's stretching to try and clear it. But yeah, if you're going for them, you got to make sure you put your foot through it. And he didn't. It cost us a goal, so has to get a low rating. But before that, I thought he was doing pretty well, so it was disappointing, to be honest.
I disagree. I don't think he had a good game before either. Not like awful, but, and you might not like this now, but we've given Timo Werner a 2 before. Christensen can't get higher than a 2. If you cost us a goal like that and get injured in the same moment, like you're costing us a sub and a goal, I will give him a 2.
All right then.
No. If you want to give him high, obviously it's still a compromise. If you say 4, we'll give him a 3. Obviously, that's my personal.
Yeah, I was going to say something like a 4 or a 3.5, but I think 2 is like a double mistake.
Fair dues. Well, it is a double mistake because he got himself injured and cost us a sub.
Yeah, but it's not his fault that his hamstring went.
Well, he could have headed it, so I would argue it is his fault. Nah, but okay, let's do a 3 then. But still poor, if that makes sense. But we'll talk about Zuma obviously when we talk about the subs. But to be fair, Zuma came on. You were slightly worried about him, but he came on and did a very good job. So, in the end, didn't really harm us that badly, I suppose, as long as Christensen isn't out for too long, obviously, fingers crossed. But then we get to Reece James, who, like I touched on him already, in my opinion, struggled a little bit in the first half at times, not necessarily defensively. I thought he had Mendy covered for the most part, and whenever one of the other guys was out as far as he was, but he struggled to with the ball do anything slightly in the direction of forward. But especially as the second half went on, he started having Mendy on toast. Obviously, Callum Hudson-Odoi's offside goal, that chest control by Mendy by Reece James to take it past Benjamin Mendy, fantastic. So overall, had a very good game. I just had such a good second half that overall it's a very good game, if that makes sense. But what rating would you give Reece today, bro?
Yeah, see, this one's hard for me because I thought he was outstanding the second half. I thought he had that whole side down on toast. And when Reece and Hudson-Odoi link up, we've seen it in 4 at the back. Even under Lampard, they were both great at combining. The chemistry's there. Oh man, they were having Mendy for breakfast. It was like when Marcelo was down that side. You know how much we attacked down the right. I think it was Pulisic that game, but even still, they knew there was a weakness there and they just went for it. And there was a couple of times where Reece bombed forward, but then he had to turn and pass back because Werner just wouldn't stay on side. So that was quite annoying as well. But the first half, I thought he was quite average. I thought he was struggling a bit. Just didn't really do that great in my opinion. But obviously the second half does give him a high rating. But because I personally thought he wasn't very good in the first half. We've got to try and balance it out. So, the ones that had a solid game overall have got 8.5. So maybe do we say 8 for this because of the first half?
Yeah, Jester says it here. For him, it's a 7, 6 for the first half, 8 for the second. I would maybe push it to a 7.5. I think 8 is a little bit over the top because I really think these guys that we've given 8.5 to have had really good games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. 7.5 then will be, it's still a good rating, so.
Yeah, and hey, if at the end and maybe with Miz, we end up giving him an 8, we can certainly still do it. I wouldn't be totally upset if we give him an 8. Don't get me wrong at all. And then we get to Mr. Marcos Alonso, the match winner of the day, with the beautiful hair that uses conditioner every half an hour. Pys and myself actually slightly disagreed just before we came on air because he was starting to get a little bit frustrated, he told me, with Alonso because his crosses always came a bit high. And that's very true. And maybe it's because I hold Alonso to a very low standard. But by his standard, I thought Alonso actually had a very good game. He didn't really get caught out of position much. Whenever someone tried to cross, he actually pretty much always got a block in, which is very good. And that is a very good thing for any fullback. So big ups to him for that, in my opinion. He didn't lose the ball in stupid positions. He tried to get himself up that pitch. That chip, maybe he should have cut it back. But if that chip goes in, oh my word, what a screamer. And he gets the decisive goal. I was even before the goal, I was very happy with Marcos Alonso. I think overall, I would probably give him the same rating as James, just because he was more a 7.5 throughout. And then the goal for me gives him an 8. But hit me if you disagree. But obviously the goal's the winner. So I think that has to push him up a bit.
I'm happy he got the winner, but I slightly disagree with you with the in-position thing. In this, pretty much for 20 minutes of the second half, he left his left wing-back slot and was playing up front. So I was like, what's this guy doing? He's playing almost as a second striker. And there was 2 or 3 times where they counter-attacked. He wasn't in position. We know his lack of pace really hurts him. So I don't know what he was.
But don't you think that was the plan? I feel like I didn't hear Tuchel have the goal much. So I'm like,
I don't think Tuchel would have ever told him to push that high centrally up. Maybe if he was actually on the wing, but he wasn't. He was literally like a second striker. So I don't know what he was doing.
I hear that. I hear what you're saying with that. I feel like, but Rudiger had it covered. So I'm like. But fair enough. It's not like I'm saying giving him a 9 or even without the goal. But would you agree with an 8 including the goal, or would you give him 7.5 with the goal?
I think it's gonna have to be a 7.5 because to be honest with you, I thought Reece was just better. So I kind of feel bad even giving Reece the same rating as him. Mine would probably be more like an Alonso for a 7, to be honest.
Even with the winner.
Yeah, I don't think he was good at all. Especially on that cross he tried, that shot, the chip, whatever it was. I was screaming at the TV, what is he doing? Take a touch. Werner's got a tap in. On the ball, I thought
Yeah.
he was sloppy. Like, I don't know. I just didn't rate his game.
It's interesting because seemingly most of the chat seem to agree, seeming 8 or 8.5 for Alonso. Well, we'll see what Miz says when he joins us. Let's do, we'll do what we do when we can't agree and are kind of caught between two. Let's just give him a 7.75, and then Miz will have the decision for himself whether we give him a 7.5 or an 8, I suppose. And then, we're sorted with that, I suppose. Let's leave it at that. And then we get to N'Golo Kante, who obviously only played 68 minutes, but I thought had a good game. Struggled a little bit in the first half, as did all of us, to get past the press, and some of his passes were a bit wayward. But I thought overall had a good performance. Working his socks off, running his socks off, as he, does. Energetic. 7.5, 8 probably.
Yeah, probably an 8, just because obviously he had Gilmore in there. So, we really can't hear what people say on the pitch. I doubt Kante says much, but, he still had to play in a different kind of pivot, so I thought he handled that quite well, to be honest. He's made quite a few interceptions, and it was a pretty much solid game for him.
I would agree. I think it was just a good game. Had to do his energy, like I said, struggled a bit at the very start. Maybe an 8 is a tad high, but I just think he offered so much, and he was so important in terms of winning the ball back, as he always is. And just provided some good energy in the midfield, and also helped Billy out a lot when necessary, in my opinion. And I suppose with that, actually, before we get to Billy, we have nearly 200 people watching. Guys, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. We're less than 250 subscribers away from 10,000 subscribers. I honestly really want to hit that. So just fulfill me that wish, I suppose. Get subscribed so we can hit that, obviously sooner, I suppose. So hit that big subscribe button, smash the like button. Let's get 100 likes right now. That'd be absolutely fantastic. And of course, if you're fans, do use the super chat function, support the channel, and show us not show us, show some support, and make sure we discuss your comments, I suppose. Clutch here in terms of talking about Billy Gilmore already. We'll give him a 7.5 with the penalty in mind. Pys, what about you?
For Billy, second half, I thought he was really good, but first half, as I said, I thought he struggled. So, I think give Kante 8 and then Billy 7.5. Because obviously, some people could argue, obviously, that penalty was quite harsh as well, but I think they're always given. Like, any slight contact with arm or anything in the box is usually a penalty. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I would probably more agree. I mean, that's maybe a bit harsh by Jester, but I would probably give him a 7. Almost like Jester's explanation earlier for Reese, where he was like 6 first half, 8 second half. I would probably give Billy a 6 for the first half, 8 for the second half. So have it overall at a 7. I feel like if you give a pen away, even if we win the game in the end and the penalty was missed, I feel like a 7.5 is just a tad high. Even if it was maybe a slightly harsh penalty, you've got to be smarter than that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, to be fair, I kind of bumped him up a little bit because I thought in the second half he was actually really good on the ball. And in the first half, I thought he was struggling with their press a lot. Whenever they pressed us, they almost like doubled up on him, and like him and Kante just weren't really doing like the 1-2s like Jorginho and Kante do. Like the angles weren't really there, especially in midfield. So I'm not too sure.
Fair dues. And TKG is on some smoke for you, Pys. Have you got a defense for yourself, or what's that? What am I hearing?
It's to do with FIFA, don't worry.
No, I know that. I know what Elite 3 is, but and is Josh talking about you as well, or is that me?
Yeah, they're both in a group chat with me, so they're probably just trolling.
Let them troll a little bit. Hope you're well, guys. Subscribe if you haven't already. Show Pi some support. He's always here. So I'm with that. I still think Billy actually did good today. Like you said in the beginning when you said you were surprised that he got the start and that Tuchel trusted him for a game of this magnitude. I was as well a tiny bit, but I think he handled it very well. Struggled a bit in the first half, but I think that was as did most of the team almost. Aside from maybe Kante and Rudiger and Aspie. With how City were dealing with things, and the longer the game went on, the better he got. So overall, I can't be too harsh on him. I think 7 is a good performance. He did good, and the more games like this he gets, the less scared I will feel whenever we have one of the other 3 out injured, if that makes sense. Or when one of the other 3 needs a rest, I feel more confident if Billy gets more games every now and again. It doesn't need to be every week like Fulham and City now, but if he gets a game every 2 weeks or whatever, even if it's just half an hour or whatever to give Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic a rest, I think that's good. And, using him in that way is only, useful, if that makes sense. Next, we get to Christian Pulisic. And you know, last 20 minutes was brilliant. Before that, I was not very happy. And not necessarily because he was shocking, and we'll obviously discuss this yesterday in the preview with Con. But I'm like, if you're gonna throw shade like this after the Champions League, after we qualify for a Champions League final, so you're so frustrated at not starting, and then you start the next game against Man City, and half the first half you can't even be bothered to sprint, then I'm not happy with you. Because the amount of times Ziyech or Werner had the ball out on the left wing and Pulisic was jogging into the box rather than getting a sprint in so they could play a ball was pissing me right off. And I was not happy. Obviously, it was fantastic towards the end. Was involved in both goals. So did a really good job. But half involved in the last goal, I suppose. It was kind of him, Alonso, deciding who shoots. But, was he involved in the build-up? I don't think he was. But maybe he was. You can correct me. But I wasn't happy with that in the first half. I really wasn't.
Yeah, interesting one with Pulisic. I do have a bit of defence for him because, I don't know why, but did you notice how Ziyech was playing on the left and Pulisic was on the right? I had no idea why that was happening. To be honest with you, I've got no clue why he wasn't on the left. He's better. Just didn't really make sense. Is it Tuchel just trying to confuse Pep even more? I don't know. Was that even more mind games, just trying things out? Not too sure. But yeah, in the first half, he wasn't the best. His touches weren't great. Didn't really notice the lack of sprints like you did, but it improved in the second half for sure. He was better on the ball. He had a really, really good dribble. I think sort of midway through the second half, which was really, really good. Played it out wide, and I think that actually may have been one of maybe Hudson-Odoi's offside goal. Not too sure, but he did really well there. So.
Hudson-Odoi's offside goal was a Reece James cross after he chested down a long ball. I'm pretty sure.
There was one of them where, so this run that Pulisic did, he played it out wide to Reece. So I'm not sure what came from that. It may have been actually the one where he played out to Reece and then, he whipped the ball in and Werner just slid and he didn't
that one. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. That was it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it might have been that. But anyway, whatever phase that was a really, really good dribble and pass that wide. So, I mean, maybe a 7 or a 6.5. I don't think he had the greatest of games, but I still think he was good in the second half. So I guess that kind of balances it out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because 100%, it was a bit weird that they played kind of almost opposite their usual sides. I think the idea was probably for Werner to make runs and then they can put those in-swinging crosses, half off the ground, like Ziyech tried a couple of times. I think that was probably the idea. But it didn't really work, but he still could have done better. And obviously, Clutch keeps going on about that. Pulisic had to do defensive work and played a bit more of the Mount role. But, if you want to play, then you need to be able to do that. Because whenever Ziyech and Werner have played together, it was always them as the front two. It just usually was Mount behind them. And I know Pulisic has more pace, but the reason why Pulisic is picked for that and not Ziyech is because Pulisic is better at driving with the ball. Ziyech, that isn't Ziyech's strength. So if you play Ziyech as that ball carrier, he can't do that so much. So usually it's Mount, but when it wasn't Mount, it had to be Pulisic. And if he didn't have the stamina to do it, well, then that's a problem in itself. So that's not an excuse for him. That's another problem, in my opinion. Clutch, I do apologize. I know you're American. I know you like him a lot. But, like I said, I wasn't too pleased with him. In terms of rating, I don't know. What would you give him? I would be between 6.5 and 7.
7, I think. 7 for me.
Yeah, I think 7 is okay as well. Like I said, I think he was really good in the second half and, did good things. As much as I was unhappy with him, it was more not just with today's game, so I don't want to put it just down on the rating. But I still think don't say things like that and don't seem bothered for the first half an hour of the game. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. Any which way. Then we get to Hakim Ziyech, where maybe we'll have an interesting debate about him as well, because it's a tough one to call because he had a few good shots. One good shot in the goal, I suppose. One or two of the other ones were fairly comfortable for Edison. He tried, didn't always work. But I don't think he was absolutely shocking. I was again surprised that it was him that was taken off, to be totally honest with you. I feel like he's somewhat harshly being subbed off very too regularly at the moment. But again, the goal was just crucial. And people will say other than the goal, he was poor. But he's the guy that shoots. So he's the only guy that will score a goal like that. And anybody that started shooting from distance, it's very rare that the first one will go off. That doesn't happen. So if he doesn't have the slightly off shots before, he probably doesn't score the one he did score. So I really want to praise Ziyech for taking these shots because it triggers me that not more of our players do sometimes. So I was happy with that. I would thought that because of the goal, I would probably give him a 7.5. While I think overall he was probably the same as Pulisic, if that makes sense.
Inclined to agree with you, but I did think, I think it was just as saying, I do agree. I thought he was pretty poor apart from the goal, but I'm happy to give him extra props for actually trying to shoot because not enough of our players do it from distance. So, and I also think he was getting a bit annoyed because we wasn't really breaking them down. So he was like, "Oh, screw it, I'm just going to take a few shots." Because he did that a lot for Ajax. Whenever he got on the ball, he used to shoot. But at Chelsea, he's kind of matured a little bit and doesn't take as many shots. But when he gets annoyed, he seems to start taking a lot of shots. And I think he was getting annoyed that, as I said, we wasn't breaking them down. They was very sort of tough to break down. So I'm happy to give him extra props, but I don't know. To be honest, if I'm going to be 100% honest, and we'll see what Miz says, but I think I'll give him a 7 because his whole overall performance, nice goal, but overall performance, I don't know. I can't give him an extra 0.5. I thought Pulisic was better, for sure for me.
Yeah. No. The thing is, Pulisic was better than Ziyech when Ziyech wasn't even on the pitch anymore. So I'm like, well, how do I know if Ziyech wouldn't have been better too? So it's it's not, because if Pulisic was taken off after the same amount, I would have given Pulisic nothing higher than a 6. If I'm do you know what I mean? At that point, because he got better and better as the game went on. You could say that's because he played on the left as when Hudson came on. Fair enough, but maybe Ziyech would have been better if he played on the right too. So I don't know. We'll give him the 7 for now, and we'll see what Miz says. He'll be here in a minute as well. He just texted me, so that's good. And then Timo Werner, it's a tough one, bro. Timo is a tough one. I said this on Blues Fan TV earlier. The man is along with Mount and Kante, he's a horse lung. The man does not stop. And no matter how often he's offside, no matter how many poor touches he has or poor anything he has, the man will run and run and run and run and run until he just dies. Honestly, there was Tuchel, or one of the coaches, probably it wasn't Tuchel himself. Late on in injury time already, he was shouting to him, "Just one more minute, Timo. Just one more minute. You got this." Kind of he was dead, but he was still making that run, and he made that run to assist Alonso to assist the winning goal. So I think he has to get a lot of props for that, but obviously he has to get some stick for being offside as much as he was. Obviously, the first one, the Reece James one, hey, if he's not offside, then the Reece James one just goes wide and there's nothing. So I'm not going to have a go at him for that one. But the second one, don't be so slow and lazy in coming back, right? Don't be so slow and lazy in coming back. But I also will say he got clattered today. I mean, obviously, the Sterling challenge, he had Laporte stamping right on his foot. He had so many tackles right in his back. He had a tough day. He had a tough day today, and I'm not going to give him a super high rating, but with the decisive assist, I think he gets. I think he needs to be higher than Pulisic, Ziyech, and Gilmore. I think it needs to be a 7.5.
Yeah,
I'm not going to agree on the man of the match that apparently Sky did. I don't agree with that, but
I think actually Sky gave man of the match to Mendy, which was quite interesting.
Maybe there's two different Skies. Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean, there factually is. I don't know who German Sky gave it to, but yeah.
Yeah, it was I saw Premier League King of the Match was Mendy, so I think that's the official award, but yeah, not Pulisic. Werner was quite good, I think, all round. I just think he's growing more into the side now. I think he's getting better overall. Obviously, it was annoying that he got 2 offside goals. Really annoying. Because if it was a draw, we would be more annoyed. Let's be honest. Especially the second.
Although I would be the most annoyed about Callum's one. On the off occasion, I will say this: if Werner isn't offside for his second offside goal, he probably doesn't score it anyway. So do you know what I mean? That's where offside actually makes a difference. While Callum, if he is 5 centimeters or 2 inches further back, he still scores the goal. But do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But we are joined by our favourite Australian. Although that's a bit harsh, maybe an RJ. So one of our 2 favourite Australians, Mr. Miz, Mr. The Other Side of the Coin. Of course, his link is down in the description, as is, of course, Pys's Twitter, as always. Miz, first of all, how are you? Second of all, I have to actually go back to Pys first. Give me your rate because I cut him off completely there. I do apologise. What is your rating for Timo then again? Sorry.
Rating for Timo Werner, did you say?
Now let me go to Pies quickly because I literally interrupted him completely when I brought you in.
Carry on.
Let me just have Pies finish his point. I do apologize, Max. No.
Yeah, no, I think I'll give him a 7.5 just for his all-round game. I think was much better today.
Good. And then now over to you, Miss. First of all, how gargantuan are bloody Chelsea Football Club? I mean, we go down 1-0 against Man City, where we have our centre-back injured, we get a penalty given against us, and we go to Man City, spoil their party, and just turn it around like that. We are incredible, aren't we?
We absolutely are. I mean, to be honest, moving into this game, I wasn't one bit worried, as I haven't been worried under Thomas Tuchel. For some reason, I think he's been creating that vibe for all of us. Thank you, Flyers. Flyers was just in my stream, so great to see you here as well. And yeah, like in my preview, we kind of predicted that either it's going to be a 1-0 or a 2-1 victory for us. So, we ended up getting that 2-1 victory. But the manner is what counts. We were a goal down in the first half, and it was some mental situation at the end of that first half where we conceded the goal. Christensen got injured, then the whole penalty situation, then we saved the penalty, which was crazy from Aguero, what he did. But the second half, we just came out with so much intensity, so much about ourselves. And then obviously that goal from Ziyech was brilliant, the way he finished that. And if you look at it, I think we deserved to win right at the end. We were the better team in the second half, I feel. Yes, Zuma's chance there, that probably was a penalty, I feel, against Sterling. But, was the first one a penalty then? Do you know what I mean? I don't really think Billy Gilmore's one was a penalty. So maybe that just balanced it out. I don't think, the refereeing was good at all. But I think we deserve to win. And amazing. Like, this is the thing. Every single player is stepping up for Thomas Tuchel whenever needed. They're just stepping up. Alonso, who doesn't play that much recently because Chilwell has been in absolute amazing form, comes in and scores the clutch goal. And this is about thing about Alonso, scores the important goals. You will always remember Alonso for all the important goals that he scored for us, which is amazing. We're third in the Premier League now. And yeah, as you said, Laurenz, we've crashed Man City's party. And Tuchel seems to have the number on Pep Guardiola for the time being. And I hope he can do the three-peat. I really hope he can do the three-peat.
100%. Just to answer Flyer's question here quickly. So I watch it on Sky Sports, but Sky Sports Germany, like they have their own Sky Sports, not English one. But obviously we get that in Austria. It's like in Ireland, they get UK Sky Sports. Like it's the same thing, really. And then obviously Cup games and Champions League I watch on the Zone, which you guys might know for boxing. They also do football here, and they have Champions League, Europa League. They used to have Premier League, but Sky got it back here. But the Zone here is brilliant. Shout out to them. I hope they sponsor me one day. That'd be fantastic because they do La Liga, they do Serie A, they do Liga. They have all of this live every game, not just this crazy stuff that the Premier League, that Sky and BT do, where they show a couple of games, and then obviously now with the global pandemic, they are showing all the games. But usually the Saturday games, 3 p.m. are on, right? They show every La Liga game, every Liga game. Brilliant. Anyway, I got a little bit sidetracked. Miz, before we get on to the sub ratings, because we're kind of done with the starting 11, take a look at our ratings so far. First of all, just have a glance, and then I'll get you, especially your thoughts onto where me and Pice disagreed, and kind of we're waiting for your extra opinion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so far, so good. Yeah, Christensen probably a 3 as well. Yeah, no, I can't really argue with any of probably Mendy. I mean, look, it didn't really have much to do, to be honest. Like, there wasn't too much to do. The goal wasn't really his fault at all, the one that we conceded. He saved a penalty, but then was it really him saving the penalty? He was on his knees and he had enough time to get up.
Yeah, my argument was, if he fully goes for that and flies into the corner, he still doesn't save it. But because he was kind of, maybe he kind of read it in the run-up, hence why he didn't fully go for it. So I still wanted to give him some props for it.
When does Mendy ever has gone fully on one side or the other? That's the thing about Mendy. He's not the greatest penalty, goalkeeper to stop penalties. He's always sort of half diving this way or that way. He's not really fully committing himself one way or the other. And it kind of worked for him this time because he doesn't fully commit. Look, I don't know, about 8.5. Had he been called upon on some big saves, perhaps, that's probably the only one that I'd say I'm just quickly having a look at all your other defense. Espilicueta definitely 8.5. I think he marshaled Sterling brilliantly. Rudiger as well, I agree. Reece James, 7.5. That was a big second half from Reece James, man. I feel like he annihilated Mendy. Mendy. And I think he was involved in the first goal for Ziyech where he creates that opportunity where Azpilicueta overlaps. And I think he passed it to Azpilicueta as well. And then Azpi squares the ball for Ziyech. And also, I think he was somewhat involved in the second one as well. Not for the entire play at the end, but he was somewhat involved. Overall, he destroyed Mendy. And that's why Pep Guardiola had to take Mendy off and bring in Zinchenko because RJ was doing madness on Mendy. So I think I'd definitely bump up Reece James to a 7.5 to at least. Personally, I think he was man of the match for us. So I think he needs to be bumped up a lot more.
What Price and I thought, we thought he struggled in the first half. As fantastic as the second half was, I don't think he had a good first half. Hence why, if you give it an overall rating, the first half kind of takes that great second half down.
How much would you have given him first half though?
6.
I mean, what is bad? 6, really? Was it that bad?
Did he do a single thing?
I mean, not many people
he
shine
stopped every counter-attacking moment we had down the right in my books. He always passed backwards whenever he had a moment to play it forwards. So I don't think he was very... And it almost took that Aspie moment of Aspie creating the Ziyech chance to be like, Reece, this is what you do at right wing back. So please go do it now. And then Reece was like, cheers for telling me, mate. And then he was fantastic after that.
Fair enough. Look, I mean, if you think that he was a 6, then 7.5 is a proper jump. I'd probably say he's 6.5 and probably gets into an 8 at least for his performance for the second half, which I thought was very instrumental. So that is one that I would say from my perspective, I'd give him an 8. I know 7.5 is good, but compared to all the other points that I'm seeing here, I think 8 would be decent. And Mendy, I think from 8.5, probably bring him down to an 8. And even that is very good. 8.5 is like he's made some big saves. He's kept us in the game. Unless we're heavily putting a lot of points on the penalty save itself.
Pice, would you be okay? Would you be okay with giving Mendy an 8? Because we said at the start, let's give him an 8.5, but maybe we'll drop it down later.
Yeah, I think the problem with the goalkeeper is it's the first rating we do, and naturally we have it like quite higher, and then we'll always look back and we're always like, well, you know what, actually other players did have a better overall game. So I think Reece 8 and then maybe Mendy probably a 7.5 for me.
7.5? Yeah. No, it's not dropping down by a full 1. That's a bit hard.
Still a good point though, Laurenz. 7.5. That's decent, man.
That's a penalty. I don't care how easy it was. You're not getting anything with a 7 if you save a penalty. Come on, guys.
I don't know.
But Pice, you would agree with me to give Reece an 8, yeah?
Yeah, but then like Reece has a really good all-round game, gets an 8. Did Mendy have a really good all-round game?
That's my point. This is my point. That's my point.
I mean,
he did
less bad than James did. So from that logic, you could say he should deserve a higher rating because Mendy didn't do a single thing bad today.
Well, the thing is, Laurenz, he hasn't
more involved though, wasn't he?
Yeah, but that's not Mendy's fault, is it?
Well, no, but
so like,
this is the thing, Laurenz.
He hasn't compared goalkeeper ratings to the other ones. Like we know that it's the goalkeepers are kind of almost separate.
And this is the thing. I don't think he's had to do much. I think you're putting the 8.5 solely, I feel like, on the penalty. Because besides that, tell me, Laurenz, what else? He wasn't called upon. And I know you're right. That's not his fault. But then why should I give him points?
He did a couple things, I think. He made 2 good stops. One of the Sterling volley, I think, is not too different from the Ziyech goal that Edison couldn't keep out, you know. Mendy kept out, not quite the same power on it.
It was straight to him, though. That volley
it was right in the corner. It would have flown right by the side net, surely, wasn't it? The Sterling volley. Are we talking about the same chance here, Pice? Right? That was right by the goal post.
No, the Sterling volley was really poor from Sterling, that one.
No, it was really poor, but it was still going in by the post, wasn't it? Am I misjudging it?
I think you are misjudging it a little bit. Like, it had literally no power on it. Like, I'm pretty sure Petr Cech could have saved that, like, if he, like, came from Cobham.
Yeah, well, Petr Cech's brilliant.
No, but he's like 50 now, so you get what I mean. You didn't exactly have to get down and dive to or anything. Like it was like a P roll.
No. You guys need to watch this again. He had to dive for it. What are you talking about?
Laurenz, what you end up giving? Laurenz, what you end up giving Mendy against Real Madrid for the second? Would you? Because I want to know. At least you should have probably given him a 12 out of 10.
No, honestly, we gave Kante and Mendy a 21, and then we gave like loads of 20s and a couple of 19.5s. Because I decided we're going to start at 10, not a 0.
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, I have to be with Pies on this one. I feel like
so 7.5.
Yeah, it's still a good score, man. Mendy's still a good score at 7.5, and this is nothing against him because he hasn't had much to do besides that penalty for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm still sticking with my 8.5, so I still feel like the 8 is in the middle here, like, because I feel like, big him up the guy.
Let's go.
Yeah,
James PYS, what do you think? 8s both ways?
Miz, don't back down. We've got a team up on
No, I just don't agree that if you save a penalty, no matter how stupid a penalty was, as a goalkeeper, that's the only thing you're really like. That's your biggest thing you can do, saving a penalty, and he did that. And I feel like you can't give a 7 anything, whether it's 7 or 7.5, if you save a pen. I don't care how stupid a pen is.
Go on.
The 7 pen is a big thing.
Point.
He has conceded as well. I know it's not his fault, but we did concede as well.
Yeah, exactly. Hence why he's not getting a 9, bro.
Oh my days.
Now, I mean, we're finding a compromise. You two are saying 7.5. I'm saying 8.5, so it has to be an 8, surely.
Let's go, bro. Let's do this.
And Reece James, I'm happy to give it an 8. I think Miz made some very good points. And Alonso was one where me and Pies disagree. That's why we have a 7.75. Because he was leaning towards the 7.5 and I was leaning towards the 8 because I think Alonso had a good game. Maybe by Alonso's standards, fair enough, but still a good game plus a bloody decisive 92nd minute winner. Like if that doesn't bump you up, what does?
Yeah, look, for me, I think Alonso had a very good game. Defensively, he was there. He was tracking back. In the set pieces, he was always there as well to protect. And this is the thing I like about Alonso. And this is not a criticism towards Chilwell. Chilwell by far is the number 1 left wing back for us at the moment. But I like how Alonso attacks the box. He always attacks the box. He's always there. And I feel like Chilwell has goals in him if he just attacks the box a little bit more. The thing about Alonso, I think he had a very good performance. Obviously gets that crucial goal. But I think 7.75 is very decent for him. Yes, you can argue, well, Reece James didn't get a goal. Why is he getting more than Alonso? It's just you got to look at the overall package. And Reece James brought a lot of stuff in that game, which was creating a havoc for Man City. Whereas
if I told you 7.75 was not allowed, and we only did that because to let you decide between 7.5 and 8, which one would you lean towards?
7.5.
All right, you win.
Yeah, I think Alonso is 7.5.
I can't tell you it's only an 8. It's an 8 for Mendy because of my vote, and then say it doesn't count. Your vote doesn't count for Alonso. So 7.5. Then no, fair enough. I mean, I still think a bit more credit is maybe due for the goal, but hey, it's a democracy. We'll find a joint rating, and that's fair. And then the last one, I would have given Ziyech a 7.5 again for the goal, and. I think I was a bit annoyed with Pulisic. I don't think he ran enough and tried hard enough in the first half. Triggered me. And Ziyech wasn't great either. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't. But he got a goal and he at least tried.
Man,
so I don't think he can get the same rating.
I got battered at halftime. I commented similar to what you just said, Laurenz, that I love Pulisic. Don't get me wrong. PYS knows it as well. I do a lot of propaganda, not as much as Con, for sure. I do quite a lot of propaganda of Pulisic, and I love the player. I've said it. PYS was in my channel. I said he's got the X factor to win us a league single-handedly. But I just said for this match, for someone who commented in the previous match after Real Madrid that he's a bit frustrated, doesn't get the starts enough and whatnot, and then he gets the start. And I love what he does. Don't get me wrong. He does a lot of things. He's driving runs. He's dribbling. Everything looks very good. I feel like that decisiveness, he can be so much more decisive with his gameplay. He can be so much more. And I just wasn't seeing that. He was giving away the ball cheaply. He's dribbling into people. And I commented that I don't really know if he's having the best game. And oh my days, boys, I got battered in Twitter. Oh, this agenda sucks, this, that, and whatnot. People started abusing. And I'm like, man, these people don't even know who I am. Like, and they're telling me that I've got an agenda on Pulisic, which was quite funny. And this is why I hate Twitter at times, which is so ridiculous. But I have to agree. I don't think he was at his pure best, Pulisic. Did he have some good moments? 100% he had some good moments, but I don't think he is pure best. I think 7 is a very, very good score probably for him. And Ziyech, equally, Laurenz, you're right. And I'm a massive, like I've got the Ziyech jersey on at the moment. Do you know what I mean? I'm a massive Ziyech fan. And, for me, that first half, especially that first half, he was just cheaply giving away the balls. Passing wasn't right. Having shots that was going straight to the keeper, not really challenging them enough. But I think it has to do with the positioning as well. I think Ziyech being on the left and Pulisic on the right, it should have been the other way around. Like Pulisic should have been on the left and Ziyech on the right. And then they can sort of interchange and be fluid and take turns who wants to be in the middle. Second half, Ziyech was more central and his game came into light. I feel like that was where he likes to be a lot more, that right side and in the middle. I'm not surprised he ends up getting that goal. And this is the thing about Ziyech. Even on his bad days, he has that moment where he can score a goal or provide an assist. He's made so many assists since he's been coming off the bench. Porto, many other games as well where he should have got assists and he didn't get it. So for me, 7's probably a decent one. Yeah, you could say 7.5, but I would say 7 because I didn't like his first half performance and his second half performance was a lot better.
So would you give Pulisic and Ziyech the same rating, or would you then drop Pulisic down by that logic?
I would actually put Pulisic down, but I don't want to get abused tonight. That's the thing. Like, I want my mental peace, and I know the live chat's going to go at me, but personally, I give
Clutch is a big fan of Pulisic. Like, he really is, and even he would have given him a 6.5. So, for me, like
I said, 6.5.
Yeah, we'll get Pice's thoughts on what you just said in just a second. For me, it was like, I thought Pulisic was really good in the last 20 minutes, but before that, he was poor. So that's why I was like, okay, let's give him that 7. I would have gone a 6.5 as well, but at the same time, it's like you get a huge win. He played a part in it. He was involved in both goals in a way, so can't go too low for me. So 7, but I still think Ziyech was overall better plus scoring. Hence why I would have just given him the 7.5, if that makes sense. Pice, now after everything the Miz said, would you leave them both at a 7? Would you drop Pulisic down, or would you go up with Ziyech?
I'd still keep them both the same, to be honest. I don't know, man. I thought Pulisic was overall better than Ziyech, in my opinion. So I want to keep him at the same, or maybe even. See, the thing is with Ziyech, nice goal, but up until then, I didn't really see him that much involved. Where I saw Pulisic at least trying to attempt the ball. Reece James. There was times where Reece James was down the right flank, and obviously Werner was making a run, but he was offside, and then Pulisic was actually in the box. And because he realised Werner was offside, Pulisic then came short for the ball. So I don't know. I thought that was quite nice. Just awareness and things like that, which I picked up on. But I don't think it was the greatest game from either of them. But I think Pulisic, especially in that last sort of 20, 30 minutes, was more involved, started getting on the ball more. When Cho came on the right, Pulisic at the left, his favourite position was fantastic in my opinion. So yeah.
You're right. He was better when he was in a safer position, but I just disagree that he was involved more. I think Ziyech was way more involved, even in the first half. Even if what Ziyech did wasn't always great, because I saw even loads of people tweet, we need to get Pulisic on the ball more, and I was like, partly I agree with that, but at the same time, when people don't get the ball enough, when they're wingers, as a striker, it's a tad different. But if they're wide players, 10s or wingers, I feel like make sure you get the ball more. Like that was my view on it. Hey, we maybe with all of the opinions, because you were kind of almost tending towards even Pulisic higher. Miz is tending towards drop Pulisic, and I'm tending towards 7 and 7.5. I suppose maybe we just leave them as this. Fair enough then.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe that's the fairest compromise in the end. And Mitch, just lastly, do you also agree on the 7.5 for Werner? Because apparently someone gave him man of the match. I don't know who, but that's what the chat told me. That Sky or whatever, someone did, apparently.
Well, someone gave Timo Werner a man of the match, is that?
Yeah, apparently
what you
Sky
said?
did. That's what someone said, yeah.
Wow. I mean, look, I'm not going to take away the performance. It was a good performance. It ends up getting that assist as well right at the end. Another assist. I bigged him up in my review saying that, his goal contribution is going to look silly at the end of the season with the assist. And he's getting some goals as well in recent times. And the whole he's a flop is going to look so funny to some of these people because he just racks up the goal contributions. But to say he was man of the match for this game, I think he had a very decent game. What would you guys end up giving him? 7.5. Yeah, I thought it was probably a 7.5. His work rate, fantastic. Offsides is killing him. I think some of the times where he can definitely just hold his run. He's got the pace to beat people, so he just needs to trust himself. So no need to be offside in some of those situations. And obviously the assist, so 7.5. I don't think, as I said, for me, man of the match was Reece James, especially in the second half. But then again, you guys thought his performance was a 6.5. So very difficult to choose man of the match.
Well, 6.5, just in the first half. So we had him at 7.5, not 6.5.
No, as in first half, yeah, you guys had him at 6.5 and then bumped him up to 8 for the second half, right? That's what we said about Reece James.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, I think his impact was great. So I would actually have him as a man of the match.
I mean, fair dues. So for me, it was between Aspie and Rudiger personally, but that's probably why we ended up with them as 8.5s. For me, it was the typical performance where you don't have a standout man of the match for me.
Yeah.
Because too many players had poor parts and good parts, aside from Aspie and Rudiger, who were consistently very good, but because they were defenders, don't have the opportunity, aside from scoring a set-piece goal, maybe like attackers to have this standout brilliance, I suppose. But I suppose next we get to the defenders. Obviously, Kurt Zouma had to come on just before halftime. And I thought Kurt Zouma was very good. Obviously, that tackle on, was it Sterling? Not the penalty one, the other tackle.
Last minute, just as good as a goal.
Exactly, was absolutely brilliant. Obviously, maybe should have given a penalty away, but I suppose it wasn't given, so maybe I guess we don't discount him any points, I suppose. But I would probably give Zouma an 8. I think he did a very good job, but not quite as good as Aspie and Rudiger, if that makes sense. Pys, what about you?
Way too high, in my opinion.
Way too high? Okay, what would you say?
Like 7, 6.5.
What do you think he did wrong?
He nearly had, and obviously we can do nearlies, but there was one where he did like a Cruyff turn in the center of his defense, and he nearly lost the ball.
But he did it. So he did a successful Cruyff turn in the box.
Well, no, he actually lost the ball and then used his strength to win it back, and then played it back to the keeper. But I think 8's way too high when we have obviously we have like Kante 8 and things like that. I don't know, like the tackle was good. I'll give him props for that. So maybe I'd bump him up to a 7, but 8 for me is way, way too high.
Fair enough. I think he had a good performance. Miz, what about you? What rating would you give Zouma?
Yeah, for me, 8 is probably high as well. And this is how I'm looking at it. I think this is the issue with Zouma for me. He has a moment of brilliance. That slide tackle that was as good as scoring a goal absolutely saved us with that last-ditch effort. But then that was probably a penalty on Sterling. Now, we can argue that Billy Gilmore's one wasn't, so it kind of balances it out. But just taking that aside, that was for me probably a penalty on Sterling because he was very clumsy. He was all over him. And you know what he was trying to do, just put him off. And he does touch him, and it should have been a penalty. And this is the thing about Zouma. He does tend to sort of get caught out. It's his recovery pace that saves him most of the times. He's not as astute as Thiago Silva. Barely will you see Thiago Silva getting caught out by a defender, and he has to make a last-minute sort of situation on that particular player. So for me, definitely not an 8, definitely not a 6.5. I would have him somewhere around 7 or 7.5. But probably a 7 is a good shout for him. But looking at all the other players that we've given 8.5s and Rudiger 8.5, he was still part of a clean sheet in the second half as well. So maybe 7.5 is probably a decent score. It's still high. I'd stick with the 7, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like it's harsh saying, like, almost giving him a lower rating, like in terms of you not maybe giving him a 7.5 because of the penalty. I'm like, I mean, maybe it's a 50-50. For me, it's not a clear pen. Definitely not. I mean, maybe you'd give it, maybe you wouldn't. Sure, I think they're both equally as 50-50 as each other. Personally, I think Gilmore's one is more a pen as the Zuma one because there was clear contact there. I think the Zuma one is just like a bigger guy over a smaller guy, making it look worse than it is for me.
I feel like Gilmore one, Gabriel Jesus, he puts himself across. Like if you look at it,
I agree.
Slow motion, like he puts himself like, I don't know if Billy could have done anything. Like he can't just disappear. Do you know what I mean? Like he comes in and he bumps onto Billy and ends up getting that penalty. I don't really think Billy Gilmore went for that challenge at all. It was
no, he didn't. It's like I said this earlier. It's one of those where it's like when the defender and attacker are running and the attacker cuts across the defender, then he clips his heels. They're always giving us fouls all the same.
Yeah.
So it's like by how football is officiated, that's just a foul. Even if you can't, it's almost like in traffic when you're driving. If you're the guy behind, you need to leave enough space that you don't clatter into the guy if he does an emergency stop or whatever. So it's one of those. That's why I feel like I agree with you. These things shouldn't be penalties, but they just are for some reason. They're always given as such. While I think the Zuma one, sometimes they're given, sometimes I feel like it's still one of those where because he's so much bigger than Sterling, I think it looks much worse than it actually is. Because Pi said it as well. Michael Richards was saying, there was a bit of a touch, and there was a bit of a touch, and I'm like, yeah, well, football is a contact sport. There is allowed to be a bit of touches. This is okay. And also, like Pi said, when I saw the replay, I'm like, I wasn't even sure whether there was actually any touches. I'm like, maybe like some sort of scrubs between hip and the behind or whatever, and maybe on the heel. But I'm like, I mean, if you guys, so what would you say 7 or 7.5 then, Miz?
Look. At the end, he was still part of a clean sheet in the second half. So I'd keep a 7.5.
All right. Well, I suppose if Pice was pushing it up to a 7, you're 7.5, and I would still stick with an 8. I suppose 7.5 is the middle ground. But if you're going to go 7, then I'd put it down to a 7, I suppose. But if you're going to go 7.5, we'll go 7.5.
Yeah, I'd go, look, considering all the other ratings, it would be harsh to also, because you got to look at it as it's an individual rating, but at the end of the day, the defense is a collective matter as well. So let's go with a 7.5.
Fair dues. I mean, in general, personally, I think the 3 subs were all very good. Because on Jorginho, I would give Jorginho an 8 too. I think while Kante was very good, I think Jorginho gave us a different kind of very good and was very instrumental and helpful in us being a bit more dominant in controlling possession. And, in my opinion, Billy also improved when Jorginho was next to him. Also because it probably gave Billy a bit more license to go because Jorginho always sits while Kante sometimes goes too. So it was probably like, you need to play with Kante more as the partner to probably know when he goes, when he sits, so when you can go and when you have to sit kind of thing. I will give Jorginho an 8. Miz, what about you? Or would you think that's a little bit high as well?
I always find it a bit difficult with subs because they don't get enough time. Like, for example, in this game, I think Callum probably showed a lot of impact. I get it. You're right. Jorginho gave us a different type of good. Kante gave us a very, very good performance once again. But Jorginho gave a different type of good in terms of keeping the ball, allowing Billy to be a little bit more free as well. But 8, I always find 8 so difficult to give a substituted player. So I'd go with the 7.5, which is still a very good score. And I'd probably give Callum an 8 because I thought his impact up front was very good. Very, very good.
Fair dues. Pice, what about you? Would you give Jorginho 7.5, 8, maybe lower?
Yeah, no, I think Jorginho is 7.5. I thought he brought a lot more control to our game as well, which is blatantly obvious. You know, I actually tweeted out in the first half that I think in this system, he's our most important player. I really, really do. whenever I watch this Tuchel without Jorginho, like this Tuchel team, I'm just like, we need him in that middle. Like, he's just so vital. Like, he really, really is. He relieves so much pressure off us. And his ability to, like, play 1-2s with his partner to escape a press is something that I don't think we had in the first half. So, yeah, I think I'd give him a 7.5. And big rating coming up from me from Hudson-Odoi, because I thought he was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. We're on Callum. What rating would you give him?
For me, because of his impact and how I thought he literally, when people say there's a certain player sometimes that brings that sort of, he gives more confidence to others. Like, okay, we can actually win this. Like, multiple times it's been Pulisic throughout the last couple of seasons. Like, sometimes there's that player that comes on or starts at like, oh, damn, we can actually win this. For me, that was Callum. Like, and he brought that impact. And because he hasn't played in such a while, to come on and not sulk and just absolutely go for it, to show the right attitude, and also to listen to Tuchel after the game. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the vid. If you haven't,
Yeah, I saw the vid.
I have not. What was said?
No, I basically posted it. It's my latest tweet. Tuchel at the full time basically was coaching Callum Hudson-Odoi, and Callum was like dead serious in the face, like he wasn't trying to joke and laugh around and stuff like that and get to the tunnel. And then like Tuchel like headlocked him afterwards as like a bit of a joke, like being close with his players. But I thought that was really good from Callum to taking the tactics and taking the coaching. I thought that was really nice. So for me personally, with all that combined, I'm going to give him an 8.5.
Fair dues. I mean, I would actually have agreed on the Callum 8.5. I would have given Zuma and Jorginho an 8 and Callum an 8.5. That would have been my 3 ratings for the subs. Miz, what about you? You said 8 for Callum, didn't you?
Yeah, I said 8. Look, I mean, 8.5 is not gonna. I'm not gonna be bothered by it. I mean, I'm still gonna be happy. I think his performance was amazing, to be honest, off the bench. This is the thing. I think Thomas Tuchel has said it a few times that he's like the energy when Callum starts, but he's not always like the energy when he comes off the bench. He doesn't always tend to show the same sort of impact. But this one, he came out of the blocks on fire. It's like he wanted to prove something. He wanted to showcase that, don't forget me as well. I'm equally on form. And then when you call upon me, I should be able to do a job. So he created a lot of havoc. He 100% created a lot of havoc, and he gave a different dimension. As PY has said, when he came on, it looked like, we may just sneak a victory here. So kudos to Tuchel to bring him on and not be negative and bring a defender to wrap things up, let's just say. Do you know what I mean? Look, for me, it was an 8 because it wasn't as if he created a goal, like he scored a goal or he assisted a goal, but still a very good performance. So it was an 8, but 8.5. I can
Fair dues. Fair dues. Before we get to the Tuchel rating, let me remind you guys, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. Check out Pys on Twitter, and of course, Miz, the other side of the coin, his YouTube channel down in the description. There's his link. Just click his @ and then it takes you straight there. Like I said, help me reach 10,000 subscribers. We're just, probably like 230, 40, something like that. I haven't checked. Away from 10,000 subscribers. So get subscribed if you haven't already. Be massively appreciated. Smash that like button as well. And I suppose next we get to Thomas Tuchel's rating. Pys, what about you? Obviously, it's weird because we got a huge win, but we also rotated a lot of players. But also we said we didn't actually agree that it was the best idea to play Ziyech on the left, Pulisic on the right. So, what rating does all in all that give him for you, Pys?
Yeah, this is going to probably be a 3-way decision because I don't think we'll all have the same rating unless we all just mutually agree. But yeah, I mean, let's think. Like, the lineup, I didn't mind, so I can't get him on that. Apart from Ziyech and Pulisic on the opposite sides, but obviously we didn't expect that just from the lineup. We obviously thought that Pulisic would be on the left and Ziyech on the right, but in game it was different. So that kind of that's a red flag for me for Tuchel because I don't think that was the right decision. Just personally, I don't think it worked out either very well during the game. In terms of our overall performance, I don't really want to slander Tuchel too much for the first half because I don't think he was expecting this formation. And it obviously took us a while as a team to sort of, get used to it. We struggled with Dylan with their press, but again, we did rest players. So I don't really want to be too hard on Tuchel, to be honest. And I thought he got the rotation quite right. So I don't know, maybe like nothing crazy. Obviously, we got the winner and stuff, which is great, but it wasn't like a. I think, Laurenz, did you say he had like a tactical masterclass? I thought it was actually kind of a tactical masterclass from Pep in the fact that he kind of threw us off.
Do you mean I said on here or what I tweeted?
I don't know. I think you tweeted it was like a tactical masterclass or something so far, like during the first
half.
half.
I tweeted his first half is come with the tactical madness because of the Rudiger almost pushing up as his second DM, so Billy could go and almost create like a 4-2-3-1 where we had obviously the two wide 10s, Werner up top, and then Gilmore almost like a 10, and then so we didn't have the problems that we had against Fulham where Billy was all exposed. For not that to happen to Kante, Rudiger almost pushed up as a second DM, and I thought that was just when I saw it, I tweeted tactical madness. I don't think it was tactical masterclass, but I'll get to what I have to say. What rating would you give him overall?
All right, I'll just start it off. I'll probably say 7.5, I think, as an overall.
Okay. Miz, what about you?
I think the rotation was probably on point. Obviously, we can sit there and argue who should have played on one night. At the end of the day, I think he made the right decisions as to who needed to be rotated. And something needs to be said as well that he's forced Pep Guardiola to go three at the back. Pep Guardiola has been rattled. I always find it interesting when an opposition manager has to. It's not like Pep Guardiola plays with the three at the back every day of the week, but he had to kind of switch this because he was worried about what Tuchel does with that formation. So for me, that's another tick point for Tuchel in the sense that I think he's starting to get inside of Pep's mind at the moment. He's living in his head rent-free, sort of. And then obviously the first half we were behind, so it shows great mentality to come back from a 1-0 down. So God knows what he spoke about in that halftime dressing room. I'm pretty sure he was passionate. I'm pretty sure he probably told the lads that believe and do the basics that we've been doing and believe in the process that we've been doing so far under his regime. And we get that victory. So for me, and the substitutions, I think they were bang on. The substitutions were absolutely bang on. So and not just that, post-match. I know, Laurenz, you want to talk about, I've sort of created that last time when it came, that the whole package, the build-up and everything, the package,
you did great,
rating, the package rating. Lots of videos, as PY said, he's just shared a video of him being very, very close to Callum Hudson-Odoi. There was a nice video of him with Billy Gilmore as well, post-match, how he's hugging them. So for me, overall, I think it's 8.5 away from home to Man City crashing their party of winning the league. And now 2 out of 2 against Pep Guardiola. I think I'd have to give him an 8.5 for that particular performance. Look, it wasn't our best performance, but it was a great performance not being at our best, if that makes sense.
It's a tough one for me to call. Yeah, no, I agree, actually. It's a tough one, and I'm already thinking ahead of what do we in the end give him, because I would probably have given him an 8.5 as well. And to give my reasons, Klopp, like Miz and Pies both said, came with something. Did I say Klopp? Pep, Guardiola did something, came with something that we didn't expect. The Tuchel didn't expect. You could see him at the sideline early. He was having this very serious look on his face. You could clearly see he was studying what's happening. And what happened about 15 minutes in, I'm not sure whether he started to give instructions. I don't know. I presume he would, right? But 15 minutes in or so, we didn't struggle so much anymore. It became an end-to-end game. It wasn't like an all-City game like the first 10 minutes. So even inside the first half, we found ways to deal with what they did. And then what he did in the second half, to me, I agree with Pies. First half, you could argue Pep tactical masterclass. But to turn a Pep tactical masterclass into us dominating them for 40 minutes with a 5-minute spell where maybe the penalty wasn't a Foden chance, but for dominate Man City away from home when we're rotating some of our most important players for pretty much 40 minutes straight, come back from 1-0 down and make 3 brilliant, well, okay, the first one was forced, so let's say 2 brilliantly working subs. I think he did a good job. I think 7.5 is very low. I would agree for the Ziyech Pulisic thing. That's one reason why I wouldn't give him a 9. And then the reason why he doesn't get any higher than a 9 is because in the first half or the first 20 minutes, he still got beat by Pep, if you want to call it like a duel of managers. So for me, an 8.5 is fair. What I'm not sure about is if Pys says 7.5 and we say 8.5, is it an 8? Is it, what do we do then here? Pys, after what we said, would you be inclined to push it up to an 8 or would you stick with your 7.5?
Like I can push it up to an 8.5 if you really want to. Like I was just
no. Honestly, obviously, overall, we'll see what we do. But in terms of did anything that we say maybe influence your opinion that you would push your own rating higher, if that makes sense, or would you stick to your 7.5?
No, like I just said 7.5 to like start it off. I was always willing to negotiate up, you know, but
okay.
it's just to start it off to see what you guys thought. No, I thought 7.5. Yeah, 7.5 maybe a bit too harsh. We did get a win, and also first time we won there since 2015 or 16 or something like that.
Wow.
So
yeah,
that's quite a long time, man. So or is it even? Yeah, it was 16, wasn't it? Because Hazard scored the on the counter and Willian that game was.
You can say for you it would be an 8 rating. You know, even if we overall give an 8.5, you can still have your own opinion, bro.
Yeah, but I'm so undecided. So I want you guys to help me. Like, I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, Miz and I said 8.5, so I suppose 8.5 it is. But Miz, do you have anything to add, or shall we move on to the overall?
I want to help PYS out because he's a good mate of ours. Let's help him out.
There you go.
Completely understand his points as well, but the sticking point for me is, as PY said, away from home. So we haven't won there for a long time. Comeback victory. I mean, we could have capitulated after the 1-0. Do you know what I mean? Like against a big team like Man City, second half we could have absolutely capitulated, but we didn't. We persevered and we showed intent. We equalized, and then we got the win. We were probably the more hungrier one to get the winner. And his substitution of Kalimantan-Odoi made me realize that he was going for the winner as well. He could have easily not substituted Kalimantan-Odoi in and just shut up shop and maybe just got a MSN in, for argument's sake. Do you know what I mean? So I think we need to praise him for that, to show the courage to go away, get the win, third in the Premier League table now. And as I said, the comeback victory, the substitutions. Does that help PYS?
Yeah, go on then. I got some good points. Like, I guess he was really positive, wasn't he? Like, it's a weird one because a lot of us would have accepted a draw. So I think the fact we won maybe has to bump it up just a little bit more, you know, because it is Man City. And just one thing you said earlier about obviously Pep copying us. You know what? I think that was kind of mind games. I think he'll revert back to his original system, the way he usually plays in the Champions League final. I think he's trying to toy with Tuchel. I really don't think he'll play that system again.
But you know what, PYS, like Real Madrid I found that very strange how they try to mimic us. Like, I'll be very surprised if Pep does this in the final. It'll be madness. But I find it very strange that some of these managers trying to mimic us. Like,
I think he was trying to test it out. And it wasn't exactly the same. It was kind of like was it like a 5-1-4 or something like that? It was kind of like it wasn't exactly. It wasn't like a 3-4-2-1 like ours, but the shape was similar. It did put us on the back foot a little bit in the first half, obviously, because we had to adjust and they was pressing high, and it was really quite hard to keep the ball and progress the ball. But you know, give Tuchel the benefit of the doubt. I think 8.5, a very good away win. And the second half we dominated. So why not? Let's be positive. Like, nothing's going wrong at the moment. So, you know, hopefully it continues. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I can only agree. And to answer this guy's question here, I do, but I haven't seen a question. And if you want to make sure that I see, because sometimes I miss things, do use the super chat function, like that's for everybody. But of course, you don't have to. You know, never have to pay to watch my content. But if you want to support, do support. And then we get to lastly the overall rating. A tough one. Obviously, we got a late winner. First 10 to 20 minutes, we struggled. The last 5 minutes of the first half was a whole disaster, really. Just thankfully, Aguero bottled it. And then the second half was brilliant. So for me, because obviously I let you guys go first for Tuchel, I suppose let me go first now. I would probably give the over rating a 7.5 or 8. Maybe an 8 because we did get the late winner. I think maybe a win away at Man City can never be lower than an 8, maybe. I don't know. Pys, what would you say? Let me go with you last, Miz. Pys, what about you?
See, again, this is difficult because first half I was like, we're getting dominated. We can't get hold of the ball. This is going to be a long day. You know what I mean? But second half, it was like we're dominating them. We can go for the win.
It was like almost reverse, wasn't it?
It was like a, you know, you have a go at us first, and then we're coming for you second half. So it was very weird. I think 8 as an overall performance would be just purely based on the result. You know what? I'm going to say 7.5 is the overall because the first half just, for me, wasn't, you know, I was kind of annoyed with the first half. But again, there's variables to it. They played a different system. And, you know, it's an away game. We're not at home. That always affects stuff, even though there's no fans. And yeah, we had a rotated lineup as well. So if you guys want to do an 8, for sure. But for me, I'm just going to say 7.5, stay on the edge, just purely because of the first half for me.
Fair enough. Miz, how do you see it?
Yeah, I'd have to go with an 8. The reason being, the first half, yeah, sure, they were more in control, but we weren't entirely bad until the last 10 minutes, where it's sort of one moment of sort of madness from, you know, Christensen, where I don't think he needed to be that tight. But then you can also say, did Rudiger need to be that further up? But maybe Rudiger was doing what you said, Laurenz. He was sort of trying to protect being in the midfield and be the second sort of DM. So that's why he was a little bit further up. And then, you know, Christensen gets injured. So we didn't have enough people in the field. And we end up giving away that penalty. So it was a mixed sort of feeling. And we went into the first half 1-0 down. But I saw an amazing turnaround in the second half. Amazing turnaround. And such heart and desire to win. So for me, the overall cannot be anything less than an 8. Like, I feel like 7.5 is probably not adequate probably for this. So 8 for me.
Fair dues. I mean, Pies didn't seem totally against giving it an 8, and like, you know, me and myself were with an 8. So I suppose overall it probably is an 8 then. And at the end of the day, I mean, the weekend is not even over. Like, we still have Sunday to go. But Friday, Leicester got battered 4-2 by Newcastle. We beat bloody Manchester City. We're now going to 3rd in the Premier League, which couldn't have gone any better, especially because it put us in a position where even because of us not playing a Premier League game next weekend, even next weekend, we can't go out of the top 4, which I think is very good. We don't need to chase it in the league game against Leicester. I think that's a very good position to be in. So things could not have gone any better. Ferrari were pretty good today as well. I've had a great day. Tomorrow's Mother's Day in Austria, so, you know, we'll be doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, like it says in the title.
By the way, shout out to Ricardo as well, man. 7p in the qualification.
There you go. He did good. He did good today. He did good, to be fair. He did good.
Need to mention my Aussies.
True. I'm a big fan of Ricardo. I like Signs, but I was disappointed we didn't sign him at the time. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, what a day, what a night. I mean, I was already pretty pleased with a draw. I already had the title for the Blues Fan TV review ready, saying like, Ziyech goal wins Chelsea huge point or something like that. So, because I was pleased with that, I was like, okay, you know, takes us 1 point closer to Leicester, put us in a position. If they get a draw and we win, we're ahead of them because their goal difference got obviously screwed a little bit last night. So I was already happy with the draw. And then in the end, we win it away at Man City. Like I said, we haven't won there since 2016. Like, that's a long time ago, like 3.5 years ago. So 4.5 years ago, mind you. So absolutely brilliant, honestly. Absolutely brilliant. I'm very, very pleased that I do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in today, as always, of course. If you're still watching and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. We're like 230, 240 away from 10,000 subscribers. The quicker we can get there, the better. Of course, smash the like button as well if you fancy that. Check out Miz, the other side of the coin. His link to his YouTube channel is down in the description below. Check out Pys on Twitter, of course, at CFCPys. The link, as always, is also down in the description. Boys, I appreciate you joining me as always. Thank you for I can't talk anymore. My brain's a little bit fried. I've had a long day. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. What a day, what a weekend. Chelsea are gargantuan, and I'll see you next time.